It's Shriz, and we're back at it again with another ReZero character analysis. This time, we're going to be taking a look at Priscilla, current candidate in the royal election for the 42nd King of Luginica. As of right now, she doesn't have the biggest role in the anime as far as it's came out, but she is still a very interesting and important character, and if you've been keeping up with the plot, you know what I mean. She's gotta be interesting. She didn't know that apples have skin. Okay, but in all seriousness, if you've watched my character analysis before, you know what I'm gonna go over, but if you haven't, here's a few things we're gonna take a look at. By the way, right now it's raining outside, so I don't know if the mic's picking that up. I hope not, I really do. But anyways, we're gonna be taking a look at appearance, personality, backstory, powers, and you know, some other little things. The little things we'll get out the way early. So make sure to stay tuned because that's when we get to the meat. And remember, if you find this video informative, make sure to drop a like. And if you choose to subscribe as well, just know I'll be one small step closer to buying an anime waifu car. Hey, what can I say? And I would love you forever. But without further ado, let's hop into the ReZero Priscilla in-depth character analysis. Let's go ahead and get the appearance and nicknames and, you know, small little incremental things like that out the way. Priscilla has reddish blonde hair, or, my is just, you know, orange hair. But that's how it's described, so we're gonna go with that and it makes it sound cooler. She has red eyes with white pupils, and of course, having those red eyes, she wears stuff to match that. Usually wearing an extravagant dress, mostly consisting of red and black colors. Of course, the dress is extravagant because it has a lot of accessories such as gems all around it. And of course, to go with those gems on the dress, she has a necklace with some gems on it as well. And almost at all times, she's also wearing this absurdly confident grin. Altogether, she has a look of power, dignity, and confidence. She's at an age of around 18 to 19 years old, depending on which part of the story you're at, and stands at a height of about 5'4.5". So that was the appearance, and I'm sure you're sitting there going, hurry up, get to the good stuff. Well, there's like one more little small thing, and then we're gonna be there, okay? Well, just a second. So if you hear any of these in the ReZero community or in actual writing, this is referring to Priscilla. So it might help out some of you, it might not. But regardless, still pretty cool. She can come to be known as Priscilla Benedict, an ex-family name that of course we'll get into. The Bloody Bride, which doesn't sound like somebody you would want to marry, as well as the Sun Princess, and you know, I think that describes her pretty well. So yeah, if you hear any of those in the future, it's more than likely referring to Priscilla, so you know, maybe that'll help you not get confused. Now here we go, let's hop to Priscilla's history, how it began, what we know. And although I'm not sure which side, Priscilla was born in a country that borders Luginica and was actually the daughter of the Emperor of Wallachia, the Emperor being Shriz in Wallachia. Similar to what we were referring to earlier, her name was actually originally Priscilla Benedict. Priscilla had a best friend growing up, although to be quite frank, really just one friend, and her name was Arakia, a demi-human who was half dog. The two were quite close, and later down the line, she became Priscilla's sworn sword. After being granted qualification at the age of 12, Priscilla participated in the Wallachian selection ceremony, Emperor selection ceremony. And the qualification for actually becoming Emperor of Wallachia is being able to wield the Yang sword. So anybody who can yield that gets qualification, and she received qualification at the age of 12. But this is where Arakia and her friendship would end. Priscilla's best friend struck a deal with her brother Vincent. Arakia actually feared that Vincent would kill Priscilla, who was also participating in the selection ceremony. So Vincent and Arakia put together a plan to fake Priscilla's death. And not only did they make a plot, it succeeded. The entire Wallachian Empire, aside from a few people, believed she was dead. And of course, this analysis is about Priscilla, but I felt it noteworthy to tell you that Vincent did go on to win that election. And of course, anyway, now that Priscilla was deemed dead, she had to change her name. And that's where the name Priscilla came from, the person we know now. So not long later in Priscilla's newfound life, she would go on to marry a man by the name of Jorah Pendleton. But honestly, that wasn't much worth telling because not long after, he died. Moving on. This is where the name Bloody Bride came in. She would eventually be sold around the kingdom to different men simply because of her divine beauty. But every single one of these men met death due to unnatural causes. Therefore, the name Bloody Bride. Of course, her last husband's name was late Barielle, the Baron of the Barielle territory. And that is how she actually got her last name, the one that we know now. But as I said before, he ended up dying too, not long before the royal election. But due to his untimely death, she actually took over the land that he owned, a land that was poverty-stricken. People were starving, not too many people had houses, and she actually turned it around, putting people back on their feet and, you know, making people in the area actually live happier lives and longer lives. So, salute to you, Priscilla. I honestly wouldn't have assumed that about you. So although it took many different men to get to this point, she actually probably ended up saving some people. And obviously, being that that was a couple months before the royal election, that is the history of Priscilla and her life before the story we know now. Yeah, so in my opinion, that's some very interesting stuff as far as Priscilla's background. And it'd be really nice if we actually got some more information on little time skips in between, you know? But regardless, that satisfies me enough. Shit was going down in the Wallachian Empire, that's for sure. Next up on the list, we have Priscilla's personality. So immediately Priscilla has an overconfidence, almost to the point of arrogance, stating that she believes everything around her is working in her favor. No matter what happens, it's never a bad thing. You know the saying, everything happens for a reason? Well, to her that's true, but it always happens for a reason to benefit her. And although, as I said, she is overconfident and arrogant, don't mistake her for somebody dumb. She knows how to defend herself and how to be a leader, as well as being very inquisitive and curious about things, wanting to know more about places, only if it interests her, of course, not out of like the goodness of her heart. It's even said that she found herself at time leading expeditions to like unknown lands, just because she wondered about it. She was curious about the place. So for her, you could almost say that her overconfidence coincides very well with her curiosity and intelligence. As I've said before, with the territory that she took over, as well as bringing people in that territory out of poverty. But one thing that Priscilla's personality does not coincide with whatsoever: boredom. She's actually known for only remembering people's names that she finds interesting. And of course, that's up to her whether she finds you interesting or not. If you're a peasant that she's interested in, she will remember your name and make sure to keep tabs on you. But if you're like the wealthiest person and for some reason she finds you boring still, she will have no clue who you are within the next few hours. Priscilla is also a fairly unbothered person, although when she's angry she is to be feared. But she is shown to be unbothered by certain things that other people probably would be bothered by, such as the fact that she doesn't care if people call her the bloody bride, and referring to her last husband as an old pervert. Priscilla is also known to respect people more if they keep their pride and walk with dignity through different things that they do. Shown on different ends in two different parts of the anime if you've watched it. She was impressed with Fell whenever Fell decided to stay in the royal election, but while in another case she actually came to hate Subaru whenever he was about to go as far as to lick her feet. She found that very distasteful, unloyal, and unprideful. And here's the last thing, a little tidbit in Priscilla's personality, because I had to bring up my boy Al. She will casually beat the living heck out of the guy just because she gets bored sometimes. Shout out to my boy Al, he doesn't deserve it. So that's literally every in and out of Priscilla's personality, and to be honest, a lot of that's to be expected. Overconfident, gets bored easily, very curious, and has a pretty good intellect. So last but not least, Priscilla's abilities and powers. So first and foremost, Priscilla has the divine protection of the sun. Divine protection also increases some of the abilities' effectiveness during the day that I'm going to mention next. Priscilla can also use magic, specifically yang magic, which does fall in line pretty well with what I said about the royal selection. Priscilla has an ability called Sun Disc. This power has been shown to be able to protect her and others of her choosing from control from other entities. This one I did hint at earlier, and it literally is an ability. Extraordinary luck. The world working in her favor is not an understatement. If there was a 0 to 99 scale attribute for luck, she would have a 99 hands down. It gives her luck in literally everything she does, from going about normal duties, all the way to fights, where people might slip or an ally might come along to help her. Quite literally the definition of kinda overpowered for no reason. And in this luck category, she has an insane intuition of being able to make the right choice at all times. Regardless of whether or not the choice is statistically right, it will be. And now we're in the home stretch. She has 2 weaponry, the Yang Sword of Wallachia and the 3 jeweled necklace, the one that she's constantly wearing around. Start with the Yang Sword. It is known to shine brighter than the sun, or at least as bright, and can disintegrate anything, and I quite literally mean anything it touches. Although the ability doesn't last too long, which is probably a good thing because it would be way too overpowered, and that's due to the fact that it has very high mana consumption. And yeah, that's probably pretty bothersome for Priscilla, so I wouldn't blame her if she doesn't summon it that much. Did I just say summon? That's right, I said summon. It also seems to have its own will, so it'll only be summoned to people that it believes is worthy. Just like you have to be able to wield it to become the Emperor of Wallachia. It chooses if you're fit to be the leader, and whether or not you're even able to yield it or summon it. The sword disintegrates what it touches with white flames that are inextinguishable and can set fire to even that of water. Okay, so I definitely got to mention this. Another downside to the sword having its own will is it can quite literally burn and, kill anybody that it wants to without her permission. So yeah, isn't that great? A sword with flames that does what it wants and obeys who it wants. Nice. Some even say it can get bored of the user and won't obey them for a time. So there's also times where she can't summon it even if she wanted to. And last but not least, the 3 jeweled necklace. I'm not exactly sure where it came from or who gave it the power that it did. But anytime that Priscilla takes a fatal blow, one of the gems will crack, seeming as though it's absorbing the contact itself, effectively giving her 3 lives. So there you have it. Those are Priscilla's powers and abilities. There's not too many of them, but the ones that she does have are really strong. I mean, what kind of ability is extraordinary luck? Like, what? So this was the in-depth character analysis of Priscilla. And along with that, here's one more fun fact. The author himself said that Priscilla has the biggest boobs in all of ReZero. You're welcome. But anyways, tell me what you think of Priscilla. Do you like her as a character? How do you feel about her at this point in the story? And if you could pick one thing that you really like about her and one thing that you probably don't like about her, make sure to let me know down below. If there was any points that you wanted me to go over but I didn't, make sure to put it in the comments for others to see. It's Shriz, and I hope to see you in another video.